Well, hi, my name is Spike, and this is kind of my progress or my journey with my cancer. Um, Put it right out there, right first, that I am blessed to have cancer. It's brought me closer to God. Um, I don't blame anybody but myself. Uh, I had a bad ethics, habits, whatever you want to call it. I drank heavily a lot of Pepsi. Uh, the 2 liter bottles I drink, sometimes 3, 4 a day. And I get up in the night to drink it. I ate a lot of junk food. I didn't keep a good schedule. I worked 6, 7 days a week a lot of times in crazy hours. So I abused my body. My father died of prostate cancer also, which I got to tell right from the start. Anybody, guys, even if you're not, even in your 50s, start getting. It's just a blood test. Not, you mean, rather than the finger, where you don't want that. You don't want this. You want to catch it as early as possible. You got to watch for the warning signs. Like if you're getting up more and more often at night to pee, you're not peeing a lot. You're not a heavy stream. That's warning signs that maybe you should get the PSA checked. It's important. Not like I did. Ask for PSA test. You want to make sure it's under 4 and keep an eye on it. Keep checking every couple of years. Keep an eye on it. Okay, I'm getting off track here. Okay. And I'm a couple of weeks over my 6 months. I didn't start filming this right off. I should have. Now I feel that I'd like to tell you guys that are watching this my story, how I was treated, the treatments I'm on, what I've done to battle this. Number one, I've used Jesus and God in my life to battle this for me. I've also used herbs. I'm going to list my herbs. My diet's changed. Medications I'm on. I'm done so far exactly what the doctors have told me to do. So far. We'll see, this might change soon. But at least you can see how I've progressed with what I've taken. So you might want to take what I've taken or definitely learn not to take what I've taken. And we'll see how we're doing. Okay, we're going to go back to the start. I basically was in good health. I worked in construction. I worked hard. I felt I was in good shape. I retired young. I was just tired. I was tired of my job. I couldn't keep up. I couldn't face it anymore. It was a physically hard construction job. And I just said enough is enough. And now I know why. I think I know why. But really what started this whole cancer trip, December of last year, a couple days before New Year's. That's helping a friend. Tearing a house down. I reached up and went to pull a board down. And I felt a pop in my shoulder. I mean, it was terrible, the pain. I couldn't lift my arm. I couldn't do anything. And I'm not the kind of guy to walk away from a job. I think it's the first time in my life I've broken my ankle. I bounded it up and kept working. But this one was just so much. I said to him, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to go home. So I went home. The pain was so bad. The next day I got my wife to take me to the hospital. Hospital 40 minutes from here. And of course, because it was just I hurt my arm. The triage. I think we were 12, 14 more hours waiting to get through. So when he got through, looked at me, said, no sense x-ray that, we won't be able to tell anything at all. He said, he grabbed a hold of my arm, and he said, we're going to push it up over your head. He said, push through the pain. And I remember my wife had jumped up, she was going to slug him. As he pushed it up over my arm, I was up on my tippy toes, it hurt. He said we wouldn't be able to do that. It was, you know, if you had broke something, hurt something in your back or rotator cuff or whatever. He said it was just inflamed. Give me a prescription for anti-inflammatories, which is still hanging on the fridge. I never did do it. And he said, come back in 3 or 4 days if it's no better. I said, I'm not coming back. No thanks. Well, that was December 29th. I mean, it hurt. I figured I just did something to my shoulder, but it just never healed. Okay, yeah, 1st of April. This is where my life changes. I was walking across our yard. No, yard isn't beautiful. It looks sort of like the surface of the moon. I was walking across the yard and I had something in my hand. Well, nothing, just a little piece of metal. It wasn't very heavy. And I stepped into a little depression in the lawn, and I jerked. Like, you know, if you misstep and you jolt yourself, and I instantly had pain in my back. Unbelievable, excruciating pain. And I had no idea what I'd done. I figured I twisted it, I herniated it or something. You know, I've hurt my back over the years a few times. I worked in construction. And so I went in the house and said to my wife, you know, I really hurt myself. I was in terrible shape. I couldn't lay down. I couldn't sit up. I couldn't sit in a chair. I was unbelievable, excruciating pain. She'd gone the next day because I couldn't lay down. I couldn't sleep. I hadn't slept. So she went down to the pharmacist the next day to see if she could get me something for the pain. Anything at all that would help. And the next day, we both felt sick. My wife was sick for about a week. I didn't get better. I was still sick, and I got worse. I realized it was strep throat. I stopped. I couldn't eat because my throat was so sore. I tried rinses, and I tried all kinds of stuff, salt water, and it was getting worse and worse. I got to the point where I couldn't drink anymore. I got so bad. I got so sick. I didn't even want her to put water to my lips. I had gotten real bad, and I didn't know what to do. I gotten so bad that I finally laid in bed, and I was so bad that I didn't even realize the pain, that I just laid there, and I told my wife, just let me go. I mean, she was pacing back and forth. She was stressed. She was, praying, and she was, what are we going to do? And at this point, this is when I had a near-death experience. And believe me, it scared me bad. It scared me. I saw hell. God reached down and pulled me out of that. My wife had prayed to save me, and my life has changed since that moment. I actually came around after that. My wife worked hard at me. She got a little bit of water on my lips. She got to where I could, take a little bit, and then she got me to get a little bit of chicken broth and got me a little stronger. I mean, those boost supplements is what, I can't stop bragging them up because I couldn't keep anything else down. And it at least got me going and coming back. Felt like I was going to be all right to a point because my back was still excruciating pain. And that was the 10th of April. And I got me strong enough. She got me strong enough take me to the hospital. Now the hospital is about 40 minutes from here, and I did not want to go back. That's all this whole time. I did not want to go back. I did not want to deal with that again. Last time they sent me home, there was nothing wrong with me, and I said with my shoulder. I didn't want to go through that again. And my wife filmed me what I looked like to send to her sisters and say, man, he's bad. What am I going to do? And like I say, they said, you get them to a hospital, you know, because I didn't want to go. I was refusing to go. And, you know, and they just said, there's nothing wrong with you, go home.
Very tired.
Well, she got me in the car. It was April 13th. We went to the hospital 40 minutes from here. And again, waited, triage, sort of back, triage. I forget how long it was. I guess it was, 12, 14, 16. I don't remember how many hours, but it seems forever when you're not well. Again, I had either the sister or the wife of the doctor I had in December. Same last name, whatever. I just figured that. Now she came in and she talked to me for a minute. She grabbed a hold of the back of my neck and pushed on my stomach. She said, we're going to bend you over to touch your toes. I thought I was going to pass out with pain. It was just horrific. And she said, well, you couldn't do that. It was broken or, serious herniated disc or whatever. She said, so I think it's just inflamed. Again, give me another prescription for anti-inflammatories. And told me to, if it gets worse, come back. I didn't want to come back in the first place. I mean, they make you feel like, I'm wasting their time. I mean, guys don't go to the hospital unless they really have to. They are, that's the way they are. Well, it sent me home again. Well, exactly a week later, a couple days before that, my wife is really working on me to try to get me stronger again and trying to get stuff into me and eat and drink but I quit peeing. I couldn't pee anymore. So in a day or so, I was in pretty bad shape. So April 20th, headed back to the hospital. I mean, I didn't want to go. I'm sorry, my poor wife put up a lot with me, but I did. I went back, same hospital, 40 minutes from here.
You didn't tell me that you couldn't pee, though.
Yeah, I hadn't mentioned it to her. I mean, I was such pain that I didn't feel well. I forgot to mention to my wife that I didn't pee, and but I blocked, so I couldn't pee anymore, and I was in terrible pain. So back to the hospital we went. Now this time when I went in, well, at least they took me in pretty quickly. I don't remember how long it was. And they give me a shot for the morphine for my pain in my back. She said, I want to do a prostate test. Now guys, remember again, if you're having problems peeing, or you're not big stream, or if you're getting up at night multiple times, or you're getting in a certain age, 50, 60, it's not just a blood test. PSA. Get them to check your PSA. It'll give you an idea what's going on. So she did the prostate test, which is not fun, especially when you're in that, you're swelled up and you haven't peed and broken. Well, I didn't know my back was broken. I had a sore back. Okay. She did the test and she goes, oh, you have a bouncing baby prostate. I mean, I'm usually a jokey carry guy, but I mean, it didn't hit me funny at the time. Then she did I always forget the name of that thing where they rub that thing on your belly. Ultrasound. And she said, your bladder's full. She said, we got to empty it right away. They said, well, we're going to try this, and they put a catheter in. Guys, you don't want it to go this far. You don't want to have to deal with a catheter. And guys that have catheters and have to live with them, I feel for you guys. I mean, you don't get to keep it. They put it in, and every month they take it out, and every month they put it back in, and it's just as bad the second time, the third time, whatever. It's still not nice. And it's not comfortable having that. It's just something to deal with. Nighttime, sleeping, dressing, emptying it. It's just not fun. Now, this was starting to get, tiresome, this coming back and forth and saying nothing wrong with me and all that. So she gave me a prescription for morphine. She gave me a prescription for, I'm going to try to say it, tamsulosin hydrochloride, 0.4 milligrams. The morphine was 5 milligrams. Now, she told me to take morphine as needed. The tamsulosin, whatever it is, once a night before bed. My wife was getting a little bit frustrated, more than I was. She said, okay, I mean, we're not medical at anything, so, I get the names of stuff wrong at times, but we didn't even know what it was called. My wife said, I want him to have a scan. You said, that donut thing, you put him in and find out what's going on. She said, donut. Oh, okay, you mean, well, now we know it's called an MRI. But no, she sent me for an x-ray. And I came back, and then she said, well, okay, I'll send you for a scan. She said, but I really don't think you need it. She said, you'll hear from them probably next week or whatever. We're going to let you know when you need to go. And the nurse had given me a prescription for Ativan. She said it'll help you, the deal with for the test. Yeah, claustrophobia, because I have claustrophobia. And I don't do with crowds. I do the little chipmunky thing when I'm around a lot of people and stuff. Off track again. Okay, so they sent us home. Again, said nothing really wrong with it. Come back in 3 days and we'll take the catheter out. You probably have a bit of an infection. We'll go down and we'll be able to take it out. Well, on the way home, it's 40 minutes. We stopped at the pharmacy to get the Ativan. My phone rang, and it was the hospital, which is another hour in the opposite direction. They said, can you come for your scan now? Okay, we jumped back in the car, and away we went. It was getting later in the day. It was quiet at the hospital. I remember the MRI area is down in the basement. So we go down there, and she says, change into these screens, like a pants and top thing. It was quite a challenge, because I just hadn't gotten used to the catheter yet, and my back was excruciating. I had bad mobility problems. So we finally got in and got my scan, and she said, 5-7 minutes max. She said, you'll be out of here. It was an hour. I was soaking wet through from stress. I mean, that machine, it doesn't hurt. But being tight and the sounds it makes, I found it very, very, very stressful. Now, coming out of it, I noticed that there was a lot of blood in my catheter bag. It was getting worse. And I showed it to the nurse, and I was gathering up my clothes and stuff, and she said, maybe you should go right up to emergency ward. And I thought, maybe because of my bag, having blood in it, she thought maybe I should get it checked. So I didn't think anything else. That was fine. So we went upstairs. Yeah, emergency ward's up a level. And we waited for a while. It was getting late, and we waited. There's a lot of people, those emergency wards are like that. And a nurse was going by, so my wife grabbed the nurse and said, he's got a little blood in his bag. He's in a lot of pain. Well, it wasn't long after that, they actually took us in, and they took us back behind in an area, and I think I heard the nurse call it the annex. Well, it was like a storage room where they kept old equipment and stuff, and they put us back there. But I don't think it was long after the doctor came in. And he said, well, we know what's wrong with your back. It's broken. He said there's, I can't remember exactly his words. It was something like, but this is something I always hate to have to talk about. Do you remember what exact words were, dear?
This is a conversation that I don't like having.
Yeah, this is a conversation that I don't like having. And it's funny, but my wife and I know right away that our hearts kind of sank. We knew something was bad. And I can remember him saying, you have 4-stage cancer. kind of like get your ducks in a row. And after that, if you ever watch the old Peanuts cartoons, it's like, you mean the teacher's talking, but nothing's coming out. And even everything he said, it just kind of went. And I remember my wife going out in the hallway with him, and she went after him to find out the details. I guess she didn't want to say to me. And she said, "How long's he got?" He said, "Days, weeks." My wife said, "Months." And he said, "Probably not."
No, he said no. He said no.
He said no to
live
months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said days, weeks, and I said months, and he said,
No.
shook his head no.
Shook his head no. So, I mean, I look good now. And you see, that was 6 months ago. It's been a long 6 months coming back. That was bad. I remember going home. It was kind of an odd drive home. I mean, when you get this news, I mean, it was physically strong. I worked all the time. I just always liked to do stuff. And to have this thrown at you, that you have this. I mean, I knew nothing about I knew my father died of it, but I never thought of it again. And wow. I mean, the emotions go through your mind. What's important, what's not important. You're thinking of, what do I do next? Or anything. You worry about your wife, you worry about your finances, you worry about your children, you worry about your grandchildren. It's either you're staring off into space or you're crying. You just don't know what to deal with it. It's a very tough emotion to deal with. It's, So the blood that was in my catheter bag is normal. It was newly put in, and that happens. So that had nothing to do with any of it. So next couple days were a roller coaster. I decided that I would tell everybody, rather than just not say anything and then be gone. I figured they deserved to know. So we told everybody. I told my family. We told my wife's family. We told my children. We told her children. We told everybody. That's the news I got. We have no idea how long or whatever, but it was serious. So that was the start of my cancer journey.